In March of 2003, the Wisconsin Office of Rural Health released its report on the reliability of Wisconsin's 911 ambulance response. Although officials in the state of Wisconsin were previously aware that we had a serious problem with EMS services, the findings in this report cemented the facts concerning the crisis. The key findings in the report were: 1, the strain on reliability is a statewide issue due to staffing and funding challenges. And it doesn't matter where in the state of Wisconsin it is, it affects every region, rural, urban, whether it's a volunteer agency or paid staff agency. 41% of EMS agencies have periods where they do not have staffing to be able to respond to a request for an ambulance. 78% of EMS agencies have to respond to another agency's request for mutual aid due to the lack of staffing at the first EMS agency. In the summer of 2022, I was commanding a military honors unit of Veterans Funeral in Fall Creek, Wisconsin. The American Legion member who was part of the color guard suddenly collapsed. Immediately, we called 911. 25 minutes later, an ambulance finally arrived. The man had suffered a cardiac event. The location of the funeral was not a 25-minute drive away from Eau Claire, from where the ambulance came. A resident in a car could have driven the speed limit and arrived sooner than 25 minutes. Of course, we did not move the man as we were unsure of his injuries. We followed dispatcher's instructions while we waited for the EMS personnel to arrive. This experience prompted me to inquire as what's the industry standard for response time? I learned that it varied from location to location, but the national average was 7 minutes. Later, I read in the news in April of 2023, the city of Delafield, Wisconsin was holding a referendum. Their justification stated that they were unable to achieve the industry standard of an 8-minute response time due to staffing shortages. AB 432 helps address the staffing shortages within our EMS agencies. This bill would allow 17-year-olds to become licensed emergency medical responders. Currently, 17-year-olds can be certified by the National Registry of EMTs as having completed the necessary education and qualifications to practice. However, these certified 17-year-olds cannot become licensed until they are age 18. As individual maturity and ability to handle difficult and traumatic situations is essential in consideration of a 17-year-old being a part of an EMS team, the bill requires specific criteria to be met in addition to the standard education and other requirements of EMS personnel. Approval has to be obtained from their parent or guardian. Affiliation with a sponsor that provides EMS services must be established. School attendance requirements must be met, and compliance with all applicable federal and state laws, rules, and regulations have to be met. So we have our child labor laws. The 17-year-old cannot drive as part of his or her job. There's restricted hours. There's restricted duties. This bill does not require any emergency medical agency to employ 17-year-old EMS personnel. It gives them the opportunity to do so only if the agency deems that the individual is of a maturity level and appropriate temperament to handle the work. Some concern has been raised if insurance companies would cover if 17-year-olds are part of the EMS team. Andy Franken, who's the president of the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance, wrote this in response to my direct query on this issue. Quote, regarding liability coverage concerns, if all training and licensure requirements are met and continuing training requirements met, then we would have minimal concerns for the casualty exposure. Amendment 1, you'll see there's an Amendment 1 to this bill, makes it clear that a 17-year-old must have direct contact with a physician, physician assistant, or certified advanced practical nurse for the purpose of providing medical direction. They wouldn't be able to make any decisions on their own.